Hi there, I'm Mark Quickel, Technical Practice Manager at Planet Technologies for our SharePoint collaboration business, as well as our team that is dedicated to Azure application development. That would be DevOps, or anything in the Azure Data Platform stack. So I wanted to start this new series, which is a Tech Monthly update, simply to talk to you, my audience, who I'm hoping is dev-minded folks like development managers, and just share with you either things that are new in the Azure space, the cloud space, specifically it could be Office 365 or Azure, or things that maybe our team's working on that might not be necessarily new, but we think is fascinating or interesting as we kind of go along. So I'm going to keep these videos short. I'm hoping for around 10 minutes or less, but some may go a minute or two longer, especially this first one, and we'll go from there. So this month, let me just start by talking about the Azure DevOps rebranding. What is it? Why should you care? And at its heart, really, the DevOps rebranding is simply a refocus of the product, trying to indicate that it's centered around DevOps, right? It had the name Visual Studio Team Services. It had the name Visual Studio Online, which sort of connotated a real Visual Studio type name. And they Microsoft wanted to sort of give this impression that this is really for your entire DevOps process. So covering everything from test to monitoring to planning, all those types of things that are part of the normal DevOps process. And one of the questions that comes up is, with this rebranding, does that mean that Microsoft is sort of doubling down on their focus on this tool for use with Azure? And I would say, arguably yes. Microsoft is always focused on Azure, but let that not discourage you for those of you that are doing on-premise. The idea of this tool, right, is that you can take and plan applications from beginning to end. You can develop those applications, and you can deploy those applications in a way across your team, involving stakeholders, and you can do it in some cases at a low to no cost, in a low to no cost way. So just I wanted to kind of reshare the capabilities of the platform. As you can see here, work I'm tracking, which is now called Azure Boards, is a fantastic way for you to be able to track your application epics, any types of backlog items like tasks, issues, bugs that you need to be able to share either with the team or share with stakeholders that might be otherwise involved with the project but might not be actual application developers. The Azure boards can be shared across projects inside of a given team project, and that way you can track those tasks across multiple different developers or multiple different deliverables that need to be considered and reported on. There's also unlimited code repositories using either Git or Team Foundation version control. You can use either one. So on-premise, if you haven't considered converting your existing TFS repositories to cloud, there's no reason not to. You can migrate all of that content. Centralized code artifacts, so you can create packages or other types of dependencies and push those out as part of your deliverables, be it to either a dev sandbox environment or to production. And test plans and pipelines, which is basically the existing release management capabilities through continuous integration and continuous deployment, are still available on this platform. So the big effort here was sort of on refocusing, rebranding it. There's going to be some navigation changes. There's some ways that you organize your projects that are slightly different than they were in existing versions. And our team's been using it for a couple of months, and we've seen some of the changes. I think for the most part, it's been for the better. But even like 2 weeks after that announcement was made in September, they came up and they stated, well, we're going to make changes to the navigation again to sort of improve and clarify a few things, which I think is a fantastic testament that, they're listening to the Microsoft community. They are trying to deliver on an iterative path. It's about every 3 weeks right now, and make the product better over time. So again, if you haven't tried the product out, I'd highly encourage you to. I don't get paid to sell the product in any way. I'm in no way affiliated with that, but I would be happy just to talk with you about that and why we're so excited about it. We use the tool every day, and we try to bring everyone in our organization who is not using the tool to use it as well, be it even project manager or other types of individuals who aren't doing development day in and day out. So that covers DevOps. Secondly, as it relates to Ignite, we had a few folks on the ground at Ignite. I think it was a fantastic week for those individuals. There was a lot of stuff around Power Apps and Flow and Teams and a couple of other key technologies that our SharePoint engineers are working with day in, day out. But I wanted to talk about two updates as it relates to the Graph API. So we use the Graph API on a regular basis here as developers. And there were some updates that are both in preview that were kind of exciting. One is Graph Connect, and that is a data access service that was highlighted at Ignite, and it's designed to take advantage of configured Azure Data Factory pipelines that adhere to your organizational governance policies. And then, upon consent, the data is actually pushed down to an Azure storage account. And that storage account can be Azure Data Lake Gen 1, Gen 2, or Azure Blob Storage at the moment. So the idea, right, is there's all kinds of graph information, things like conversations that are going on in your organization, OneDrive usage statistics, and those types of things. That information is you can get to today to some extent, but this sort of is an augmentation of that and allows you to create, again, these sort of governed pipelines of data that are centralized. So now you have it in Azure Data Lake, and if you want to be able to do Data Lake analytics against it, or if you want to be able to write some traditional Power BI reporting or other types of reports against it, you now have a much easier time doing that. And that could be anything from, I just want to understand specific usage around a service, or maybe you want to be able to figure out how different organizations in your business are using the data, and you want to, say, bump up conversation or OneDrive usage against a database of different types of groups that you have for the purpose of cost ownership. So there's a lot of specific use cases on that. I think that will actually be featured or has been featured in our most recent You Already Own It broadcast as well. The other one is the Notifications API. It's the Microsoft Graph Notifications API. And that's basically a subscription-based service for driving events from the Office 365 Graph down to your users or down to your other applications. And this is something we've actually been doing for a while with webhooks to SharePoint Online. And this is just another great extension of that capability. When new conversations are happening, for example, you could easily hook into that and then alert users that those conversations are happening and drive some sort of event off of that. They talked a little bit about Project Roam during Ignite too, which is a technology that's been around for like 2 years. And it's really around tying applications instead of to the device, you're tying it to users. And so if you are using that with this with the subscription-based service, you can actually push that to a user across all their devices, like a sort of a global push notification, which is kind of neat. Okay, SQL Server 2019 was kind of another thing that was discussed a lot in 2019 in September. And I think one of the big things that was exciting about that was the big data cluster capability. It stole a lot of the limelight. I know we were watching that intently, trying to see where that's going to go. I'm not going to focus on that too much here because its cloud reach is somewhat limited. In fact, the idea is to sort of promote a richer on-premise or hybrid type SQL Server capability. But we are going to be watching that as this progresses and seeing where this goes. I think it's very fascinating technology. It's a very useful technology, and we're not only looking forward to how it's going to shape SQL Server, but how it's also going to shape Azure SQL services. So let me instead focus on another announcement that came out in September around the data platform, and that's Power BI. So going into last month, I think it was around August 30th, going into September, there was an announcement around the Power BI Premium capacity monitoring tool. And that is a great way to get information around your Power BI service. Things like what is your total workspace count? What is average and maximum memory usage, CPU performance, data refreshes? What is succeeding and what is failing as those refreshes are happening? And it kind of brings it all together in a sort of elegant dashboard interface. And this tool, you can download it, grab it, put it into your Power BI workspaces, and it works with Power BI embedded ASQs as well. So it covers more than just the Power BI service alone. The one thing that was missing when the tool was announced was the query metrics capability, and that was something that was just announced about 3 weeks after the original announcement, so around the end of September. And that just sort of augments that tool, adds query counts, wait times for queries, and then you can actually use the statistics that are being pulled back from your query analytics and be able to understand the relationship between that and CPU usage and memory usage and things like that. So I think it's a welcome addition to the Power BI family. All right, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I will see you next month.